Captain Jace Spade was no stranger to pain, but the torture he endured on the dead world of Goth pushed him to the very edge of human endurance. For hours, the towering Kraldan soldiers had worked him over with cold, methodical brutality, demanding classified intelligence about the human colony on the moon Naus. Their gray faces betrayed no mercy, and their pale yellow eyes shone with an empty hunger for victory. Every bone in Spade's body screamed for release. Yet some stubborn core of pride refused to break. He gave them nothing. When the interrogation finally ceased, his limp body was dragged through freezing metal corridors by 2 armored guards. One of his eyes had been destroyed beyond repair, and the raw socket burned whenever the cold air touched it, so he kept his eyelid clamped shut. They brought him before a Kraldan colonel seated behind a massive black bench emblazoned with a silver eagle, the mark of supreme authority. The colonel offered a stark choice: pilot his interceptor, the Red Wrath, and transport a small Noctish scholar named Professor Malaz to the war-torn moon Naus, or lose his head on the spot to a 4-foot executioner's blade. With no other path, Spade accepted. The thought of returning to Naus filled him with dread. Decades earlier, the robotic Dogan Empire had struck without warning, slaughtering 85,000 human settlers in Xander City and abducting Dr. Xander, the brilliant scientist who had created Spade and the entire colony. Spade had watched the massacre from orbit, helpless, and the guilt had never faded. He was ferried back to his ship, where his loyal crew awaited. Tanaka, a frail cyber genius from a low-gravity world, moved with mechanical prostheses and spent his days hacking alien databases. Leonard Brute and Mingus were both towering megalons, born on a high-gravity planet that gave them immense strength. Brute served as co-pilot, hot-tempered and fiercely possessive, while Mingus kept the ship running as chief of operations. The crew had been looking forward to a quiet voyage back to their homeworld, so the sudden detour to bloody Naus drew groans and uneasy glances. They all remembered the human genocide and wanted no part of it. Soon after departure, Professor Malaz boarded under Kraldan escort, accompanied by wheeled pallets loaded with sealed metal crates. The little Noctish scholar, barely 4 feet tall, spoke softly but with great conviction. He claimed his mission was to negotiate a ceasefire between the Kraldans and Diokans, thereby averting a galaxy-wide war that would consume billions of lives. He reminded Spade that both humans and Noctish had lost their original homeworlds to conquerors, and he insisted that the Diokans, though robotic, were capable of reason and diplomacy. Spade scoffed at the notion, haunted by the memory of Xander City's smoldering ruins. Yet he had no choice but to comply. During the long interstellar journey, Malaz played chess with Spade and explained the military deadlock on Naus. 2 Kraldan brigades were trapped on the surface behind a Dogan missile shield, while a massive Kraldan fleet orbited the gas giant Roga, unable to break through without suffering catastrophic losses. Malaz planned to infiltrate the Diokon command center and negotiate a safe withdrawal of the Kraldan forces, thus preventing an all-out war. Spade dismissed the plan as suicidal, but he listened. Later, Tanaka pulled Spade aside and revealed what he had unearthed from hacked Kraldan files. The Noctish were not the peaceful scholars they pretended to be. For millions of years, they had served as intelligence brokers for the Kraldan Empire, selling vital information about enemy weaknesses in exchange for exclusive rights to all plundered wealth. Every civilization the Kraldans crushed was looted dry, and the spoils went to the Noctish. Moreover, Malaz had deliberately exaggerated Diokon military strength to delay a full Kraldan offensive, because if the Kraldans seized Naus permanently, they would split the Dogan Empire in 2 and collapse its logistics. That suggested Malaz's true agenda might be far from peaceful. Tensions among the crew boiled over when Mingus confessed her romantic feelings for Spade and sedated Brute to be alone with him. The jealous Megalon awoke, burst into Spade's cabin, and beat him unconscious. Malaz intervened and calmed the situation. But the rift remained. When the Red Wrath reached the Kraldan 17th Expeditionary Fleet orbiting Roga, Malaz ordered Spade to accompany him aboard the flagship. He handed Spade a heavy sealed metal crate, and told him to deliver it to General Seb's staff, but refused to explain what was inside. General Seb, a scarred and imposing commander, distrusted all humans but tolerated Spade for the mission's sake. He laid out the battlefield. The Kraldans held the bleak mountains, while the Diakons occupied the ruins of Xander City across a wide lava fissure called the Now's Rift. Dokan missile defenses made orbital bombardment useless, and Seb could not attack until reinforcement jammer ships arrived. Malaz insisted on diplomacy, and Seb revealed a narrow infiltration window that opened after each nuclear barrage, when electromagnetic pulses blinded Diakon sensors. That was when Spade would have to fly down. Spade piloted the Red Wrath, with a formation of decoy drones, diving through nuclear explosions and kinetic laser fire to land safely behind Kraldan lines on Naus. He and Malaz donned 10-foot-tall Kraldan mechanized armor, which connected directly to their nervous systems and enhanced their senses. Before leaving the forward command post, Malaz handed Spade a chrome canister and told him to present it as a gift to Commander Kripp, saying it was from Spade and that Kripp should not open it until after they departed. Spade obeyed, though his suspicion deepened. At the command post, Kripp explained that the Diakons had built an automated weapons factory inside the craggy mountains, turning out infantry and tanks every hour. Malaz insisted on crossing enemy lines to reach the Diakon command center, which Spade knew lay in ancient mining tunnels accessible through hidden passes. Kripp assigned a 9-man scout squad led by Sergeant Major Rupa, a grizzled veteran with over 500 years of combat experience. Rupa took an immediate dislike to Spade, but respected his knowledge of the terrain. As the squad moved out, they witnessed a devastating Diakon tactical nuke obliterate the Kraldan 2nd Battalion. Hordes of Diakon drones carpet-bombed the plains, only to be shot down by mountain laser batteries. A full Diakon infantry regiment then charged across the open rock, but Kraldan tanks and infantry counterattacked, surrounding and annihilating the robotic force in a brutal rout. Despite the chaos and slaughter, Malaz ordered the squad to press forward. Using Spade's childhood memories of the moon's hidden ravines, they crept across the Now's rifts through a narrow rock spine, dodging drone patrols. They reached the foothills of the craggy mountains, but found a heavily fortified Diakon bunker blocking the only pass that led to the mines. Spade and Rupa both argued that a frontal assault with a tiny squad against a crew-served weapon was suicide. They urged a long detour around the ridge, but Malaz refused, insisting there was no time. His voice carried an unyielding determination that brooked no argument. He declared that they must attack the bunker immediately and make haste up the mountain. Spade shook his head in disbelief, but Sergeant Major Rupa, old soldier that he was, grinned behind his faceplate, and said that leading such an assault was the very thing that made life worth living. The squad prepared to charge it to certain death, with Spade forced to join them against every instinct. The canister's true purpose, the professor's hidden agenda, and the fate of the crew all hung in the balance as they braced for the final, desperate push.